You know that feeling, right? When you're stuck in a loop of thoughts that you just can't seem to close? You just turn an issue over and over and over in your mind, and instead of finding a solution, you just feel drained? Well, today, we're going to dive into exactly why that feeling of overthinking never seems to have an off switch. So, first things first, let's bust a huge myth. We tend to imagine overthinking as this really intense, high powered mental thing, like a supercomputer overheating. But honestly, for most of us, that's not what it actually feels like at all.
No, the real signature feeling of overthinking is just this nagging sense that something's incomplete. It's not about how powerful your thoughts are, it's about how they just won't go away. It's a loop that just refuses to close and it leaves you stuck in this weird mental limbo.
It's kind of like having a really important document open on your computer that you can't save and you can't close. It just sits there, demanding some kind of resolution that never ever comes, and it's just draining your battery in the background. And this unfinished feeling? It triggers a very specific, almost compulsive urge to just check one more time, to go over the facts again, to make absolutely sure you didn't miss some tiny, crucial detail, even when you know you've already checked a dozen times. So what gives? What is really going on here? If the thoughts aren't particularly deep, and they're definitely not leading to any kind of conclusion, why on earth does our brain get stuck in this frustrating, totally unproductive cycle? That's the big question we're going to unpack. Okay, so the answer begins when we shift our perspective. This isn't just some psychological quirk or you failing at logic. The root of this whole unfinished feeling is actually physiological. Yep, it's about your nervous system. This means we have to completely redefine what's going on. Overthinking isn't your brain working hard. It's your brain spinning its wheels. And the reason it's spinning is that your nervous system is stuck on high alert. Your mind keeps racing because your body is still braced for some kind of threat. And that leads to an even bigger question. I mean, if it's not about deep analytical thought, are we even using the right word? Is overthinking really what's happening, or is our brain doing something else entirely? It is. And this brings us to the central idea that can change everything, really getting the difference between two very distinct brain modes: productive thinking and what we'll call vigilant scanning. Let's break this down. Productive thinking is focused, it's targeted, it has a clear goal, right? To solve a problem or create something new or understand an idea. Scanning, on the other hand, is broad. Its goal isn't to find an answer, its goal is to search for any potential threat. One is building something, the other is just what? So, what does this scanning mode look like? Well, it's your brain searching for, from anything that might need a response. The thing is, it doesn't even know what it's looking for. Its one and only job is to stay vigilant, like a radar system just endlessly sweeping the horizon. And this distinction between thinking and scanning, it explains one of the most maddening parts of this whole experience. Why trying to reason your way out of it almost never works. It's because your conscious mind and your nervous system are in a total standoff.
You know the drill. This is where you try to bring in your logical brain. You go through the evidence, maybe you make some lists, you talk yourself through it, and you come to the very rational conclusion. There's no problem here. Everything is okay.
And yet, that underlying hum of anxiety, that physical feeling of being on edge, it just doesn't go away. Your mind might totally accept the logic, but your body is still sitting there, braced for something to happen. And because that feeling of readiness is still there, your brain goes, whoa, wait a minute. If my body is still on alert, then my logic must be wrong. I must have missed something. And boom, it goes right back to scanning for that hidden threat it assumes must be out there. This is the key. You have to get this. The entire cycle is not powered by an unsolved question. It's powered by a physiological state of readiness. Your body feels ready for a threat, so your mind feels compelled to find one. So, if logic is a dead end, what about distraction? I mean, we've all been there. You get totally sucked into a task, and suddenly you realize the overthinking has stopped. Well, it turns out there's a really clear neurological reason for that. Here's how it works. When you get into a state of deep focus, your attention is no longer available for that wide-angle scanning. You've basically given that restless scanner a brand new specific mission. Focus on this one thing. And in response, your nervous system can finally lock onto a single target and relax that broad vigilance. Now, the crucial point here is that the relief you're feeling isn't because you solved the original worry. Not at all. It's because you successfully gave the scanning part of your brain a completely different job. You changed its task, and by doing that, you changed your physiological state. So yeah, distraction gives you some temporary peace, but the real solution, that requires a fundamental shift in our objective. The goal isn't to outthink the problem. The goal is to help your nervous system feel safe enough to stop looking for one in the first place. This is a really profound shift. You cannot find a thought that will end the cycle of scanning. It's impossible. Trying to find the right thought is like trying to turn off a blaring smoke alarm by talking to it. The problem isn't the logic, it's the signal. This is the destination. This is the off switch. That mental loop finally stops when the physical need to check is gone. The quiet you're searching for doesn't show up with a brilliant insight. It shows up when your nervous system can finally, genuinely stand down. And that leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought. Once we stop trying to win a mental argument and we instead focus on helping our bodies feel secure, what actually becomes possible then? What kind of clarity emerges when that constant underlying scanner finally powers down?